Beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
Right. Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
It's crazy.
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
Hello, Boring Review Nation! Gabe!
Nick.
And we are here today to record another episode of Mirzapur.
Mirzapur. Someone was really mad that you're not giving it the hard R.
Mirzapur.
Mirzapur.
Oh, man. We were told it gets better as it goes. Oh, man. Woo!
So we were talking episode 6 review, you know, who's going to die. Someone's going to die pretty soon. Someone did die in episode 7. We'll get to that in a second. It wasn't who we thought. But episode 7 starts with the political game. You kind of start off in episode 1 and 2 about Muna running for president and trying to get rid of any kind of competition.
Right.
Golu, the girl that Bablu likes, she is decided she's going to put her hat in the race. And so he gets this whole thing set up for her, tries to impress her, which he does.
Right.
He gets one of his boys who's armed to kind of help him set it up and also be there. He doesn't think he needs security, but thank goodness he's there. And so she's giving her speech, and she's nervous at first, but then she gives it to resounding applause. But then Muna's boys find out that someone else is campaigning against him, and so they want to go and they want to shut that down.
Right.
And it's interesting because they go in there and they're causing a ruckus. And Bob Blue, you really see him start to transition into more this gangster role, even though he's still got that heart aspect of it. And you see him bust out his gun and just point at that guy and knock some people out or whatever. So that was quite interesting to see.
I think this was Babalu's first mistake. Because as we find out later on in the episode, okay, how is this impacting the gun business or the carpet business? Okay, how is this good for business? Now you're mixing your personal
And that's
affairs.
why he makes a mistake.
Yeah, with your professional, and that's gonna cause a problem, obviously. And it's one of those situations, man, where you're like, he's too smart. I know he likes her, but he's too smart not to think that, okay, no matter what Mr. Kaleem, no matter what Kaleem thinks about his son Muna, it's still his son, okay? It's bad enough that you guys have showed him up on several different occasions, but now you're going to take his presidency from him or help somebody take his presidency from him. This cannot end well. Blood is always thicker than water. And I'm like, come on, Babalu, you're smarter than this. I guess, you know.
But it was good that they show him make a mistake. 'Cause it's usually always Gouda that makes a mistake. But I was thinking the same thing. Like, why are you helping her out when you know Muna's not going to like it? You saw what Muna did to the other competition when you were in the classroom before you were part of the group or whatever.
Because he's got the hots for her.
But
That's
he
about
wants to impress. That's all he cares about.
Right.
And he's got that loyal friend who's there and helping him fight against these people. But Muna's friends, they drive me crazy. They're such twerps. They're such little cronies. They're like the little kid from Christmas Story who's with the tall kid who just thinks he's tough because he's around these people.
Right.
Those guys drive me crazy, but they're definitely committed and they're there to protect
they're
their
loyal.
boy.
They're definitely loyal,
And, it just starts up a whole bunch of craziness because then, it's basically this cat and mouse game. Moon is mad about it. He wants to go after him. They're chasing after. Eventually, he kidnaps Dimpy or Sweetie. Maybe it's Sweetie. I think it was Dimpy, right?
That happens because what happens is when Muna finds out that they stopped this at the election, Muna goes and gives him a visit. And you said at some point he's going to find out about Sweetie.
Erupt.
Well, he goes to Babalu and Guru's hangout or whatever, and with his boys, and he's like, hey, what's going on, this and that, and why are you interfering in my affairs or whatnot? He said, well, this is my personal affair. And then come to find out, he's here goes Gouda, of course. He's like, well, yeah, that's Sweetie's sister, and Sweetie's my Sweetie. And when Muna hears that, he's like, my Sweetie? I love Sweetie. And he said, well, Sweetie loves me. Holy cow, you saw his face. He said, okay, it's going down. I thought they were going to shoot it up OK Corral style right there, man.
But see, Gouda, he does not think. He's so emotional, and, you can blame it on the drugs he's taking or whatever, but he just does not think. He's just all about, I need respect. I need to be the best. I'm working out to be Mr. Universe and all this kind of stuff. I need all these accolades. And time again, he falls in that trap. Now, Moon is not the most emotionally stable either, but you have all this craziness, and so they first take the two girls. They leave Sweetie alone, so she's able to call the brothers. And as soon as she calls the brothers to say that Dimpy's been taken, I mean, I was so excited to see how Gudu was going to react, and he did not hesitate.
Oh my God,
he's just laying there. What? Sits up. What? And then Babu's like, let's go.
Let's go. They jump in the car, and now, again, here's where Babu's intelligence is like, look, we've taken these guys on before, so I'm confident that we'll come out on top of this thing. However, I still need to let Mr. Colleen what's going on, because that's our boss, and he's the head. This is, for all intents and purposes, he's Don Corleone, okay? He is the Godfather, so this is his son. So he gets on the horn and calls Makpool, tells Makpool what's going on. So they get in the car and take off, and I mean, it's like Muna's trying to get away with his little sister. I guess he wants to chop her up. Muna's nuts, man. He is nuts. I'm starting to love his character.
And I love the part where she fights back. She takes a gun. She's not sure what to do with it, so they take it back or whatever.
It was crazy.
That was cool. And one thing real quick that we forgot to mention is in the title of this episode, another thing that takes off Muna amongst all other things is he sees the license plate on their car.
The Lions of Mirzapur. I love it. But I mean, again, dude, their heads are getting so big. And like I said, normally Babalu doesn't make mistakes. And I thought that everything was going to come to a head because of Muna. But it actually comes ahead because of Babalu, because Muna would still have not known that Sweetie was with Gouda if this hadn't happened because of the election. So this was all on Babalu. This is his fault. And I think he recognizes that.
This guy.
He calls. Here comes Makpool, and they somehow all meet up at the same intersection at the same time. Guns are drawn. It got ugly. I thought it was going to be OK Corral style right there. But you can see how everybody still respects Makpool and respects Colleen. So the girls let go. They get back to the house, and they start airing out their grievances. And that's when Muna calls his dad out. He's like, listen, they're interfering in my affairs. How is this helping your gun business? How is this helping your carpet business? Okay, other than hurting me and hurting my business, what benefit is it of yours? And that's when, at this point, you start seeing the wheels turning in Khalid's head, Khalid's head, and it's like, oh boy, you could just see the look at his face right there. Muna leaves because they told him don't touch the girl, so he's all pissed because right there, he still had the gall to tell Guru to his face, I'm gonna kidnap her, I'm gonna take her out of him, I'm gonna chop her up into 1,000 pieces. I was like, oh wow, that just got ugly, man.
But but see, this is the thing that drives me crazy, and I understand it's in a lot of these types of movies and maybe even real life, but you have this guy Muna. He went toe-to-toe with Guru earlier in the movie before Guru was really seasoned or whatever, and he lost. Right. I mean, him and his boys got destroyed by Guru and Babalu, but mostly Guru. And so if he doesn't have his father to protect him,
right.
I mean, he's got so much like bravado and just so much machismo, and I'm going to do all these things. But if his dad wasn't who his dad was, would he be able to be that? I mean,
no.
He's the same guy we see in the first 5 minutes of episode 5 where he's walking around like he's all hot stuff, all drugged out, whatever, and he shoots the groom and doesn't even care about it. He just keeps dancing. Sometimes I like him, sometimes he drives me crazy. I still can't wait for him to erupt. He has not erupted yet. He's been controlling it for as much as he can.
You don't think he's erupted this up?
No.
He kidnapped their sister.
I'm telling you.
Oh,
but he wasn't able to follow through with it. He wasn't able to get that closure. Right. There's an eruption coming, I'm telling you. And so this episode was interesting because it was different than them building the business or them working with Tripathi. It was them, trying to deal with Muna and whatnot. But the thing I like about it is the things they set up in episode 4, 5, and 6. We had to have this kind of episode where they're going head to head. And I'm not sure if that business of them going ahead is over with yet. I'm not sure if we've gotten the closure on that situation.
Right. Well, I like what happened at the end of the argument. He lets Muna go. He tells Muna to leave. He lets the two brothers go, the Pandit brothers, and then the grandfather comes out. So even though the grandfather
finally does something,
the grandfather comes out and the grandfather says, this isn't Muna's fault. And he kind of tells Colleen, like, listen, you need to, I know Muna's a loose cannon, and I know Muna's a screw up, but this was not his fault. So you need to watch the boys. So now, and you can tell that Colleen still holds his father in high regards. You're like, definitely. Oh man, you could see that the walls are coming in, and it's like Caesar, okay? Enemies all around him, and they do not see it. Especially, Gouda is crazy, because he was even talking crazy in front of Mr. Colleen about his own son. Like, I'll rip your head off. Like,
he doesn't have a filter.
No filter. No filter.
You, his judgment, his the thing that keeps us from just saying whatever's in our mind, that's just gone from either these pills he's taking or just the power that he's gotten. And I mean, he's crazy. I really like the whole scene with Golu and Babalu. They're on top of, the precipice or whatever on the second floor. Their feet are dangling as Gudu's becoming a man, so to speak.
Right,
Sweetie.
right.
They can hear all that kind of stuff, and they're just sitting there kind of awkwardly, but they're talking, and you get the impression that Golu does like Babalu.
Oh, of course.
You get the
She
impression.
likes him as well.
She tries to act all tough and big and bad about it, but you can tell they like each other. So I thought that was kind of sweet, and all of that. Gudu, he's able to do what he wants to do, and he becomes a man.
Now,
but
I'm not usually a fan of cops in most shows, and actually most shows and even movies we've watched from India, they always portray the cops as like either bumbling idiots or corrupt or whatever.
Very corrupt, yeah.
But this one cop, which I guess you could still say is corrupt, this super cop, so to speak, this dude's a gangster, because he said, all right, you guys are my trusted guys. Remember, they set that up in the last episode. He's trying to get information. He says, now it's time to take down, these quote-unquote gangsters in Mirzapur, and we're going to start with these two. And he shows them the picture of Babalu and Gouda, the Panda brothers. I thought he meant arrest them. No. He sent a hit squad after them. Like, you have any, basically do whatever you need to do in order to take these guys out. And I thought he meant arrest them. No. He sent people to murder them. How many cops straight up send people to get murdered? That was insane to me.
And it was, this is my favorite part by far of the episode. They're driving in their car that they've got the Lions of Mirzapur license plate on and everything. And then these guys are chasing them. They get caught between these two buildings, and they're just getting shot at. It kind of reminded me of a Family Man for a second. They go through the windshield, and they're just running. They're on the run. And then eventually they get everyone, it all comes to a head in this building. It's like a 3 or 4 story building.
Oh, it's a
where
beautiful
it's got this
shot.
middle courtyard thing that goes all the way up. I don't think it has any roof whatsoever. And it's got these stairs around. And there's this awesome action sequence where it was very immersive.
Right.
Where it was almost like a video game where you're following the camera, so you're trying to figure out what the action is, but then instead of following the main characters wherever they're going or the people attacking them, it's in one spot, and you see the characters running around, going up and down. That was super cool, the way they filmed that.
Right.
And, the way Babalu or Gudu would be on top in one situation, and then they would lose their gun, and like, oh, I'm sorry, then the cops would be on top, and then they would reverse, and, they're jumping around. That was, for me, one of the coolest parts of the entire series. So far.
And even at one point they give you like a bird's eye view of everything, so you like you're looking from
guy
above.
That fell down.
And you see the one guy get thrown over. He didn't fall. He got thrown over the ledge by Gudu's a straight.
Gudu finally got to drop someone.
Bro, he's a murderer. He's a straight murderer. Gudu is scaring me, and I love that about his character. But he's a straight murderer. Like, he doesn't care, and they don't know they're cops. To their defense, they don't know they're cops at this point. They know people are trying to murder us. They're coming after us, but. It gets crazy. So they fight their way out of there, which I was like, this is super cool. And now they they get on the phone with Colleen right away, and they're like, because here's the wheels turning once again. We just got into it with his son over this. We know, and Babalu knows he's in the wrong. He knew because he even the son Muna said, how is this helping your business? So he knew, like, I messed up. And this is his father. He's starting to think blood's thicker than water. So they're like, man, did they send these guys after us, or what's going on? So he said, are these, he calls them and he tells them, we just got a track. They try to assassinate us. I don't know. They don't even know they're cops. So they're thinking it's people from Juniper or whatnot. And he's like, go into hiding. That's what Colleen tells them. And I'll take care of it. And it was like, all right, go into hiding. Stay low. We'll do that. Would you have done that at this point? If you're them, would you have gone into hiding with their men where he knows where you're at if you're doubting if maybe they're... Because they even talk about it. Do you think that, Colleen would have us assassinated? Do you think that came from them? And he's like, no, that would never be him. We're valuable, whatever to him. But if you were them, would you have taken his help at that point, or would you have just been ghosted and disappeared?
I am obviously a very different person than these people. I would have felt vulnerable and scared, and I can't be trusted to walk around like I was before as the Lion of Mirzapur. Now I'm just this little hunted thing where I would take anyone's side. I would take not anyone's, but Colleen's side, and hope that he's not coming after me, and just live off that hope. And I believe it's at the end of this episode or near the end. They're sitting down on a bench while they're in hiding, and Guru even asked him. He's like, "How do we know it's not?"
Right.
Tripathi.
I would have been
And
like Guru. I would have
at that
thought
point, you don't have any leverage to go down that road. You don't have any type of power in this situation to even entertain that idea, even if it is. Now, unlike you, I did not know it was the cops right away. I was like, okay, this has got to be Muna or his boys or something like that. Maybe this is Colleen's secret group of guys. I mean, eventually I figured out before the episode was over that it was the police. But, I mean, you're in a situation where you're between a rock and a hard place. You have to trust that one person and hope that they're not ready to go after you. And I don't think, even with this mistake of siding with Golu, I don't think that was enough to, lose favor with Colleen.
Now let's go back to Colleen for a second. Something else big happens in this episode with Colleen. We talked about it earlier. There was a death. And, of course, Muna is more than beside himself that his father once again didn't side with him, didn't let him kill the little sister, kidnap anyone. So he basically tells Compounder, I need you to take him out. You know what I mean? And Compounder, who had offered this,
care about me?
Yeah, a couple episodes earlier, and at first, he seemed offended that he even said it.
How dare you?
How dare you? Now you're like, okay, Compounder, go do it. And dude, to his credit, I know he looks doofy. He's tall, he's lanky, he is not intimidating. He went after Colleen in his house.
Choice.
Bro, he is insane. Yeah, not even with a gun, with a razor.
I thought Tripathi was going down. The way they were setting it up, I thought, oh my goodness gracious, they're going to kill him. Please, not now.
Yeah, oh, man, but...
He gets a few shots in there. He does before...
Oh, he cuts Colleen's back. He's almost slitting his throat.
And who's the one that stops him?
Grandpa's a gangster.
Does something.
Now, here's the thing. How many old dudes are running around with a pistol in their wheelchair? Because he can't even walk. So what?
He's got his crossword puzzles. He's got his licorice. And he's got his pistol.
And he got his pistol right there in his wheelchair, man. But he saves Colleen's life or whatnot. Because if not, Colleen would have just, he's older. Compounder's a young, vibrant, strong guy. You know what I mean? You could see he couldn't take him physically, man on man. And it almost cost him his life. And I like the fact that they made that believable. Because one of the underlying themes of this is how he's getting older. His wife's letting him know, you're not a young man anymore. He can't last with his wife and perform for her. Again, he's becoming not an antiquated, but the gangster lifestyle is starting to catch up with him. He's not in touch with the streets. He didn't know about the gun business. People are pulling the wool over his eyes. So you're seeing that his own age, his mortality is coming to a head here. And man, if it wasn't for Grandpa, he would have got taken out right there by Compounder. But luckily, Grandpa comes in, they shoot Compounder, and they capture him. Now, here's the thing. If I'm Colleen, I'm thinking the same thing. My son, this is his best friend. He comes.
Why would he come after me?
Why would he come after me unless it's because of what just happened today? And they don't kill Compounder, but Compounder, loyal to a fault, does not say anything. And they have him there. And when they call Muna and
Muna acts surprised. He's like, "What? He went after you? What are you talking about?" He goes up to him, and you can. So Compounder is facing, this way, and Colleen's facing this way, and so Muna gets in between, and you can see it on his face. He's heartbroken. He knows what he has to do. He knows what's going to happen. He knows it's his fault, and you find out in that moment that he actually does care about Compounder.
Right.
But when it comes between him and someone else, he's going to choose himself every single time.
Self-preservation, man.
And even Compounder basically says, "You got to do it." Yeah. And he doesn't. He goes down. Kill me. Not right there. Not right there. A little lower. And he helps him out. And the Muna acts mad, and he does it, but he's really upset and hurting. And that was an interesting scene. I didn't think Compounder was going to be that loyal, but sure enough, he was. And I don't think Muna deserves it.
And I think, no, he doesn't deserve it. And I think Colleen did that in order to test his son's loyalty. Like, if he said them, my son doesn't have the heart to kill somebody knowing this is his fault. You know what I mean? Because they still underestimate Muna. Even his own father does. So that was a test to see, because he's got to be thinking, my son sent this guy after me. This is his best friend. That's why he didn't kill him immediately. He brought his son there to see what his son's reaction was going to do. But to his credit, his son kept the face like, what? No? And I could not do that. I couldn't, knowing that that's my best friend and I send him after you. I know self-preservation, but especially in that grisly of form, to slit somebody's throat. Oh my gosh!
But you got to remember, in episode 1, the very first thing, even before he kills that groom on accident or on purpose, the very first thing we see him do is he's looking at the license plate. And he's saying to himself, I'm going to be the king of Mirzapur.
Right.
And that's like his entire motivation, this entire series so far. So even when he's put in that situation where you would think he'd throw up the white flag and say, okay, Dad, please don't kill me. But it was me.
Right.
He still doesn't do it because at the end of the day, that is what he wants. And you can see him getting frustrated when Gudu and Babu are getting some favor here and there because it's taken away. When he sees the lions in Mirzapur, he's like, this thing is slipping away from me. I'm desperate. I've got to do something. And he was lucky that compounder not only went after his dad, but also didn't rat him out. And he, like I said, he doesn't deserve that.
He does not.
But this episode, I'm going to say, is probably my second least favorite episode. But I love this episode. That's how good these episodes are. Right. I love, maybe my third least favorite. The second one wasn't necessarily one of the best either.
Right.
But there's a lot of good stuff that happens in here. That action sequence really, really helped it to elevate a little bit. But there's not a lot of meat in this episode, but there's a lot of development going on. Right. So that was good.
So the episode ends up where, once again, Gouda screwing up. They're told to lay low. And what does he do? He wants to keep making gun deals, which is not laying low. And his brother even tells him, what are you doing? We're told to lay low. He's like, what are we supposed to do? Just
gotta make money.
Go out and make money. We're not going to stick our heads in the sand. We're gun dealers. We're gangsters. This is what we do. So they start selling guns or whatnot. And then there's the third guy that's with him tells him, there's another gun deal if you want to make it happen. He's like, yeah, introduce me to the guy. And he's like, okay, we're going to go. And as they're driving, Babalu looks at Gouda and said, no, what are you doing? We can't go here. And he's like, listen, we're gun dealers. This is what we do. He
doesn't want us to make money for him?
And they're going to Junipar. And right away, Babalu's like, stop the car. I'm getting out now. This is ridiculous. You are making a mistake, whatever. So he gets out the car. And I'm like, at that point, I thought, okay, Babalu is smart enough to know that this is a mistake. You're going into enemy territory. Gouda, you're going to get yourself killed. And I saw it coming like, you know what? You're going somewhere where these two towns are arch rivals. The head gangsters there are arch rivals. What are you doing to yourself? So he goes to sit down to meet the buyer or whatnot. He's drinking his tea, and then as he's ordering, you hear the voice say, no, order two, and it's his brother's voice. His brother didn't abandon him. And you said that a long time ago, like, look, even though Gouda's messing up, his brother's ride or die. He's not going to turn his back on him. Again, blood's thicker than water, and you're messing up, but I'm going to be here for you. And, of course, it was a mistake. Why was it a mistake, Nick?
Because they have to make a deal now with Ratty Shankar, the head enemy of Tripathi.
How can you not see it coming? You're going into their territory. You don't think he knows every gun that's sold there? So they go to sell these guns, and Ratty Shankar's like, I'm the client, okay? And he's there with all his henchmen that got, AK-47s. And he sits down. It's funny how they bring the chair. They put the chair right there in front of him. And then what happens? It's Ratty Shankar comes in, sits down, and he's like, listen, I heard you guys had a run-in with Muna. He abducted your sister. Let me tell you something.
On their sympathies.
Yeah, he's like, listen, I worked with them before, and they screwed me over just like they're going to screw you over. All they care about is their family. There's 3 generations of them. So you basically have 2 choices, okay? You can stay there and wait till they screw you over, or you can join me, and we'll rule Mirzapur together. And then you see, Babalu's face is just white, man. He's like, and
how did we get here?
And Gouda's sitting there like a gangster, like, I hope Gouda doesn't jump ship, bro. Because if he jumps ship to Junipar, I'm gonna hate his character, even though I love his character. But come on, you can't do that. You got loyalty now to Mirzapur. What are you doing?
Yeah, that was a great way to end it.
Did you see that gun that he had too? Oh, the thing was solid gold.
The man with the golden gun?
Oh, that was so cool.
One thing we didn't mention in this episode was when Babalu was talking to his dad, right?
Yes.
There's that kind of powerful scene, in my opinion, where you see the regret that Babalu has with the decisions he's made and where it's taken him. And it was an interesting conversation, and it was almost like he was extending his hand out, and his father didn't necessarily take the hand, but his father didn't necessarily completely diss him either. He's like, what'd you think was going to happen when he made these decisions. So that was really interesting. But we're loving this series. There's our review for episode 7. We hope you enjoy it.
2 episodes to go. I can't wait.
People will die.
I can't wait.
So we'll see if our predictions hold true at the end of this series. If anyone does survive, or people that we predicted die. But if you're enjoying these reviews, throw us some love by giving us some of those thumbs up if you've subscribed already. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe. And until next time,
we know all things.